sometimes the face reveals the secret the brain is trying to hide. And today, we see one of the cases in which the brain is hiding something, but the face reveals the secret. Welcome to Neurosketch, and this is Dr. Kenny, and today we are talking about the Horner syndrome. So let's begin. Horner's syndrome is a topic of discussion today. Horner's syndrome, it is a topic of discussion today. So are you curious? So look at this picture. Look at this picture. Pay attention at the eyes of this person, and then look at this one as well. So you can pause this video and try to observe the difference between the eyes. So this eye and this one, and of course this one and this one and this one. So pause for a little while and then try to watch. So I want you to pay attention on the upper lid of this eye, and of course the upper lid of this eye, and then the pupil of this one and the pupil of this one. So what are the similarities between these two pictures? So number one, you will see that if you are looking at the upper lid, the eyelid is a little bit dropped, and then same applies to this one. The eyelid is a little bit dropped. So the dropping of eyelid is what we are seeing on the left eyes of these two people. So what do we say about the dropping of eyelids? We call it ptosis. So the ptosis is the dropping of the eyelid. But as you can see, this is not a total dropping. It is not a total dropping. It is incomplete dropping, incomplete or partial dropping of the upper lid, the partial dropping of the upper lid. And then what about the pupil? So what is the difference between this pupil and this one, and what is the difference between this one and this one? So these two pupils, they have something in common, and that is constriction of the pupil. Constriction of the pupil, we said it is known as meiosis. So the meiosis is constriction of the pupil. Ptosis is the dropping of the upper lid. But if we go back into the anatomy, on the opening of the upper lid, elevation of the upper lid. What did we say about the elevation of the upper lid? So we say the elevation of the upper lid is being contributed by two muscles, and that would be the levator palpebral superioris and the mular muscles, or the tarsus muscle, the superior tarsus muscle. But we said the levator palpebral superioris will initiate elevation of the upper lid, and then the mular muscle will maintain a state of elevation which is 1 to 2 millimeter elevation. So if at all these people could open their eyes to this extent, it means the levator palpebral superioris has got no trouble. It is completely fine. So what is wrong is something to do with mular muscle. So the mular muscle is what we said is a superior tarsus muscle, or the so-called the mular's muscle. And what did we say about ptosis? Ptosis could be myogenic, of muscle origin. Something has to do with muscle. So we have something wrong with the mular muscle, or neurogenic, the nerves that supply the mular muscle. And what did we say about the innervation of the mular muscle again? The mular muscle was innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system was one that was innervating the mular's muscle. So to this case, we can agree that we have a trouble with the mular muscle, at least for the upper lid, the eyelid, also for this case here. So we have problem with the mular muscle. It could be myogenic, it could be neurogenic. Myogenic is the mular muscle itself, and the neurogenic is the sympathetic nervous system. Let's go back to the pupil. So what did we say about the control of the size of the pupil? So the pupillary control, the pupillary size is being controlled by our autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So your pupil, my pupils, your pupils are the way they are because of the balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. We have a video discussing about the pupillary head reaction. You can always go back. But what did we say about the sympathetic nervous system? What does it do? It has the mydriasis or the irritation. Remember, when you're freaking out, when you're fight or flight mode, you are in fight or flight mode, you are freaking out, you will always need a dilated pupil so that the eye will go through, so that the light, a good amount of light will go through your eye. So that's mydriasis. Mydriasis, period irritation, is under sympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic control. And what about the parasympathetic? Is meiosis, less than digest, so you don't need too much light, so you actually need to constrict your pupil. So, and I've told you, like, your pupil, my pupils are the way they are because of the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So these two systems have to be at equilibrium. So what if I remove the sympathetic nervous system? What if I eliminate the action of the sympathetic nervous system? It means I am eliminating the mydriasis. I am eliminating the pupillary dilatation. So I have removed completely the dilatation. So what will happen? It is exaggerated parasympathetic response, and that would be the meiosis. And what does the meiosis mean again? It means the pupillary constriction. So back to this muscle, back to these two cases. So we have seen, like, we have meiosis, constricted the pupil, and we have a differential. We have, at the back of our mind, we know it could be something whether to do with the sympathetic nervous system or decrease the parasympathetic nervous system. Increase the parasympathetic nervous system, or decrease the sympathetic nervous system. And again, we have dropping of the upper lid, which also lies the suspicion. We have two possibilities. One could be myogenic, second could be neurogenic. And we also already see that we have a problem with sympathetic nervous system. So these two conditions, the dropping of upper lid and the pupillary constriction, they share common origin, they share common problem, and that is denervation, removing of the sympathetic nervous system, And what did we say again about the sympathetic nervous system? The sympathetic nervous system, we said it is thoracolumbar. We don't have the sympathetic nervous system within the head. So if you want to utilize the sympathetic nervous system to the head, you will need to take it from the superior cervical ganglion, and it will come by the way of blood vessels, and that it could be the internal carotid artery or the external carotid artery, or the external carotid artery. So if you have damage, maybe it could be the damage at the superior cervical ganglion or anywhere along the path of the sympathetic nervous system. It could result into the dropping of the eyelid, incomplete dropping of the eyelid due to denervation of the mular muscles, and the pupillary constriction due to removing of dilatation effect, removing of the sympathetic nervous system. So what really is the Horner syndrome? What is it? So a Horner syndrome, it is a rare condition that will result due to denervation, removing the sympathetic nervous system that will supply the face. So removing the sympathetic nervous system that will supply the face. And remember, we have two sympathetic chain, one on the left, one on the right. So someone can have an isolated damage, maybe on the left side, and the other side would be fine, could be completely okay. So so the Horner syndrome, we are removing the sympathetic nervous system that will supply one side of the face, So what are the clinical features of the Horner syndrome? What are the clinical picture of removing the sympathetic of the face? Well, number one, as we've said, we have meiosis, the constricted pupil. Why constricted pupil? Because we have already removed the sympathetic nervous system, so the pupil remain constricted because the parasympathetic takes over. And then we have already seen also incomplete ptosis. I insist you, it is incomplete ptosis. It is not complete because the vertebral palpebral superioris is there and it does its function. It does its work like completely fine. Except that we don't have the superior tarsus muscle, which could like result in maintain the state of the elevation of the upper rib, the elevation of the upper rib. And of course, the sympathetic also they supply the sweat glands. So the sympathetic nervous system will also supply the sweat glands. And so when we are removing the sympathetic nervous system, we are removing the sweating effect of our face or wherever it is supplied. So a person will present with anhidrosis, which is the absence of sweating of the face. But remember, I am insisting again, maybe it could be left side is affected, so these symptoms will be seen on you on the same side of the face that is affected, the same side of the face that is affected. Do you guys remember that the sympathetic nervous system will result into vasoconstriction in the peripheral vessels? So if I'm removing the sympathetic nervous system, what do we have? We have vasodilatation. I mean, on that side of the face. So that vasodilatation will result into more and more blood going to, because the pressure, the resistance goes down. So more and more blood flows to that particular part of the face, and it results into redness, and increased temperature of the skin. Redness of and the increased temperature of the skin. So that's the clinical picture of the Horner's syndrome. But what is the classic presentation of the Horner's syndrome? So when you see this presentation, you always go to the Horner's syndrome. So the classic presentation could be, we have this triad of Horner's syndrome, 3 important features of the Horner's syndrome, and that would be meiosis, incomplete ptosis, and anhidrosis. So the meiosis, incomplete ptosis, and anhidrosis. So that is it about the Horner's syndrome. But I got a little surprise for you here. It is a case that is 30-year-old man presents with the dropping of the right eyelid and a constricted pupil on the same side. So which of the following additional signs would most likely point to the diagnosis of the Horner's syndrome? So be sure to write your answers in the comment. But also, if this video has helped you to grasp the concept of the Horner's syndrome, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your fellow. And as always, stay curious and see you next time.